Hello there! This is the Ford Anglia my father bought in the 1960s, and it took him on the longest, most epic and most torturous road trip of his young life. Now, how long do you reckon that road trip was? 500 miles? Nope. 1,000 miles? Nope. It was 61 miles. Really? Yes, it was 61 miles, and it was genuinely the longest trip he'd ever attempted in a car. Clearly, therefore, we should recount this epic tale, and let's also have a look at the car's original sales brochure from the 1960s, consider its mechanical specification, and have a look at one or two other interesting documents. Look, that is the hire purchase repayment card. Oh, I hope there's no money owed on this car. Come on, come on, come on. No, we're in the clear. Welcome to CarSpyTV. Right, let's get started. This Ford Anglia De Luxe was registered new on the 16th of March 1967, and my father bought it 2 years later in 1969. Here's the invoice. As you can see, the car cost £365. However, my father traded in a Hillman Minx for £125, so the total cost was £240. By the way, that particular Hillman Minx was horrendously unreliable. My father spent more time pushing it than actually driving it. Here's a picture of the car in its natural state, not moving. Anyway, this Ford Anglia De Luxe had a 1-litre 4-cylinder petrol engine that produced 39 brake horsepower. Let's see what the brochure says about this engine. It says 70 miles per hour. Okay, that's fair enough. 40 miles per gallon. That's not bad. And 100,000 miles per engine. Just imagine if you bought a brand new car now and the manufacturer boasted that your engine would last 100,000 miles. I don't suppose you'd be too impressed. The Ford Anglia De Luxe also had 4-speed manual transmission with synchromesh on 2nd, 3rd and 4th gear. This was operated via a lever on the floor between the seats rather than a column shift by the steering wheel. Now, the car's standard equipment specification further emphasises how much things have changed since the 1960s. The brochure emphasises that it had 2-speed windscreen wipers, a light on the rear number plate, what else? Padded armrests on the doors, a sun visor for both the driver and the front passenger, and, of course, a rear view mirror. Not a lot then. And bear in mind that my father had the higher spec deluxe trim. There was an even more basic version available too. I'm glad he didn't have that one though. There was no light on the ceiling. Right, let's get back to my father's epic road trip. It started in London, which is here on the map. Oops, I mean here. The destination was Canterbury, which was 61 miles ahead. Why Canterbury? Because the family wanted to visit the magnificent cathedral. Everyone therefore piled into the car, which, to be honest, wasn't particularly spacious, and set off into the great unknown. Furthermore, the weather was incredibly hot, and guess what? The Ford Anglia, as it was the deluxe trim, had vinyl seats which were sticky, uncomfortable and torturous once hot. Just imagine sitting on a stove. After hours on the road, the Ford Anglia triumphantly rolled into Canterbury, and the family got out feeling dazed, battered and dehydrated. My father was happy with his work though. He'd made it all the way from London. He'd conquered a new land. He'd succeeded. Later that year, Neil Armstrong took his first steps on the moon, and I suspect he was inspired by my father's epic trip. Okay, let's have a closer look at the sales brochure and see what it says. To be honest, the writing style strikes me as very, very odd by today's standards, but nonetheless I'll read it as it's written. It says, our car, your car, everyone's car, Anglia, the car. For everyone, everywhere. Ford Anglia, the light car, most wanted, most successful, car beyond compare. Just compare it. Really? The brochure then goes on to talk about the raked back rear window the car's famous for. It says it stays clear whatever the weather and optimises headroom. It also mentions the foam-filled seats that are scientifically shaped for day-long driving without a trace of drowsiness, the big boot and up-to-the-minute styling. Oh, and here's some more funny writing for you. The Ford Anglia, the brochure says, has gracefully styled headlamps that headlight the night with daylight assurance. Maybe we should rewrite this brochure. First though, let's have a look at some of the pictures as they represent the aspirational lifestyle you might have if you buy a Ford Anglia. Here's one of a group of youngsters involved with motorsport. Can you see that okay? And if I turn it around, there's the Anglia charging down an empty country road. Move my finger out of the way, that would help, wouldn't it? Now, there's one more I want to show you, but I've got to be careful how I get to it because this brochure is very old, it's already torn, and it's quite fragile. Hang on. Ah yes, there we go. There's a family loading the car with luggage, presumably on their way to a fancy holiday somewhere. All very nice too. Bizarrely though, there's no picture of the car on a burning hot day in Canterbury. How strange. Okay, I've got a few more interesting things to show you. Here's the Ford Anglia's MOT certificate that was issued in March 1970. And here's a tax disc that expired in March 1971. And here's the advert my father put in the newspaper when he sold the car in 1971. Okay, let's see what else was for sale in the newspaper alongside my father's Ford Anglia. By the way, these are magnifying lenses. I'm having to wear them because the print in that newspaper is unbelievably small. Are you still there? Yes? Okay, good. You could have bought yourself, let's pick one at random, a 1966 Rover 3 litre. I do like those cars. It had automatic transmission, a radio, 33,000 miles on the clock, and the seller wanted £625. Alternatively, you could have had a Hillman Imp Deluxe from 1964. It had just been completely resprayed, a new MOT, and I quote, a snip at £195. Alternatively, you could have bought a Mini from 1966, a Capri, another Anglia, a Cortina, or even a Triumph Herald. Now, the Ford Anglia wasn't sold because it was horrible, worn out, or unreliable. Far from it, in fact. It was a nice little car. However, this 1970 Hillman Avenger came into my father's life and he didn't need two cars. I've made a separate video about this Hillman Avenger, which was kept for many years until it was full of rust, and there's a link in the description of this video that takes you straight to it. And that's it. That's the story of my father's Ford Anglia De Luxe. Before you go, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. That makes it easier to find my other videos. You can also ask any questions in the comments section. Oh, and do me a favour and click like on this video. Right, that's all for now. Do you fancy a trip to Canterbury?